ECDC On Air,
the podcast of the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control.
Keeping up to date with European epidemiology.
Welcome back to ECDC On Air, the podcast of the European Centre for Disease Prevention and Control. Today, we've got a special episode for anyone considering applying as a trainee in ECDC. I'm Arnau, a trainee myself, working in the communication team, and joining me here in our headquarters in Stockholm are three other amazing trainees. So, if you've been wondering what it's really like to be a trainee at ECDC, stay tuned. This episode is divided into 4 segments. First, we'll meet the 3 trainees and get to know a bit about their backgrounds. Next, we'll learn what they are doing in their traineeship and what their daily work looks like. In the 3rd segment, they'll share some advice for future trainees and tips they wish they had before starting. And finally, they'll answer some questions we've received through our social media platforms, followed by a round of rapid-fire questions with short answers. Let's kick things off by meeting our trainees. Hello Paula, hello Dana, hello Márcia. How are all you doing?
Good.
Happy to hear that. Well, let's start with Paula and then we continue with Dana and finally Márcia. So Paula, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What are you doing here? And your background.
Okay, so my name is Paula Messa Carmona. I'm 24 and I'm from Spain, but I grew up in the UK. I studied biomedical sciences at the University of Bristol, and then I went on to do my master's in global health at Maastricht University, which I graduated from last summer. Since then, I was volunteering for an NGO and for an infectious disease advocacy organisation before I joined ECDC back in February. And now I'm a trainee in the governance and international relations section.
Thanks, Paula.
So my name is Alsaialy. I'm from Czechia, Italy, and Saudi Arabia. Currently, I'm a trainee in the antimicrobial resistance and healthcare-associated infections section, or ARHI for short, at ECDC. But I have a bachelor's degree in social sciences, and before joining ECDC, I was a researcher mainly in national research institutes and scientific academies. And then I also did some work as a data analyst in a specialized university hospital, working with cancer patient data, which is where I sort of got most of my exposure to AMR and HAIs. And now I'm here.
So my name is Márcia. I'm 28 years old from Portugal. I have a background in mathematics and then a master in epidemiology with a main focus on infectious disease epidemiology. Before coming to ECDC, I worked as a business and data analyst in an IT consultancy, and I worked on health projects and public health projects. Now I'm a trainee in the modeling team in the scientific evidence, advice and liaison section, or if I want to use the acronym, SIL.
Thanks a lot. It's been inspiring hearing your background and how you arrive at ECDC. So clearly every path is unique. And well, now that we have met you, let's dive into the heart of your experience and your daily work at ECDC. So what do you do as a trainee here at ECDC? Please, Paula, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So, as I said, I'm in the international relations team. So we work on ECDC's partnerships with the World Health Organization and international CDCs. From a range of countries outside of the EU, EEA, so Japan, US, Canada, Korea, UK, to name a few. So day-to-day, life can look quite different, but often we're preparing for our partners to visit ECDC, so we've hosted a bunch of visits this year. We also prepare our director in her international engagements, whether that's her visiting our international partners in their countries, or her participation in international global health events such as the World Health Assembly in Geneva, the World Health Summit in Berlin, and also the upcoming WHO Regional Committee for Europe in Copenhagen this year. I've also been working on updating our joint action plans, which is a practical document that we have with our international partners that facilitates cooperation at the technical level. So we have these with all of our partners, so we update these yearly to ensure that cooperation is as seamless as possible.
All right. Thanks a lot, Paula. Dana, please.
Yeah, so as mentioned, I work in the 𝗿𝗏 section. And so the 𝗿𝗏 section is actually quite big. We're made up of two groups. The first group is AMR AMC, and then the second group is HAIs. And so I mainly work in the HAIs group, which is healthcare-associated infections. So those are infections that usually patients acquire during their stay in a healthcare facility or any healthcare setting. And so most of my work, if I were to sum it up, consists of working with different types of surveillance data in order to sort of understand and communicate on the situation of healthcare-associated infections in the European context. And then using those insights, trying to generate or develop some recommendations in order to prevent and control those healthcare-associated infections. So that's sort of like high level, what I've at least been written or signed in to do, and that's mainly the work of the high group. But my day-to-day, what that actually means in practice is I'm working on a lot of research and manuscripts, I'm building dashboards, I'm doing small analysis here and there just to discover different insights in the data. And then I'm also writing these guidelines for infection prevention and control, which is more of a policy document. And so in reality, it's very scientific, it's very policy-oriented, and you have a mix of all those different components. And as a social scientist, I have to sort of add my spin and my perspective into that. And I think that's sort of what I find most fulfilling about the work. Is taking a new approach to public health. So that's how I would summarize it.
All right. Thanks a lot. And what about you, Márcia?
Well, from my side as a modeler, we try to use and apply mathematical, statistical, and computational methods to understand the dynamics of infectious disease. And that can be understanding the transmission rate, can be creating hypothetical scenarios or forecasting disease, just like how many cases we will have within 1, 2, or 3 weeks. And so, yes, we code a lot. We use a lot of R to do that, to do this analysis. Right now, I have more than one project in hand. One of them is doing trend analysis. The other one is trying to understand delays in the reporting case and how we can use this delay and this information to have better forecasts, to have also better predictions on results. I can say that the projects varied over time and also really depending on the needs of the team, not only the modeling team, but also on the disease unit teams.
Okay, well, thanks to all of you that give us such a clear picture of the work behind the scenes. I feel like you all do a lot of things and really important work, so thanks a lot. And now let's move on to the third segment. It's time for some honest advice for the future trainees. I'll ask you a few questions and please feel free to jump in and share your tips and your advice. So now let's change the order and maybe Dana can start. How did you first hear about the trainee program?
So this might be sort of a boring answer, but the truth is old tools like Google still work really well, even in today's age. So I remember just sort of writing keywords of what an ideal type of work environment would be for me. So words like public health, internship, traineeship, and I think just using some of those keywords, ECDC sort of appeared in one of the searches. And then upon digging further, took a look at the website and everything that they were doing and found it very interesting. So that's sort of my honest answer, just a classic Google search.
It was actually similar for me. I heard about the word traineeship through a friend. She was doing the Blue Book in Brussels, because before that I hadn't heard the word traineeship before. But after hearing this word, this magical word, I also was searching for health, traineeship, global health, EU, and the ECDC website came up.
Yeah, I guess it's more popular, maybe an internship while you are studying.
Yeah.
So maybe not a lot of people know that when you finish your studies, you also have the chance to learn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From my side, it was a bit different. So I followed ECDC on LinkedIn and the vacancies appear on the main page. So, okay, there is a some traineeship program, and I look into it and I applied.
Yeah, okay, cool. Then we have a second question. What piece of advice you wish someone had told you before you started?
So I would say take your time to adapt to the place, to the people, to the environment, to your role, tasks, because especially at the beginning, things are a bit slow. So use that time to adapt to everything you need to.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also would say the same, like get to know your team members, get to know your fellow trainees, get to know all the abbreviations that we use here at ECDC, get to know the applications that we use, the software that we use, because everything, of course, is very new. So take your time and you'll get used to it all quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exactly the same thing. And for the listeners, I hope this is a sign that this is really the best advice. I mean, most traineeships last around 9 months. And so the first month goes by so incredibly slowly in a good way. But then the 8 months remaining just sort of fly by so quickly. And so during that first month, I would say, other than also getting to know your team and everything, get to know your desk setup, what desk you like to sit at, how the computer works, get to know your data, play with the data, explore it, figure out the names, where to find everything, because it's easier to ask questions in the beginning. And you will have a lot of questions. So you're here to learn. So totally agree with what Paula and Márcia said.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. And now, Paula, I would like to know some tips on how to make the most of the 9 months traineeship in Stockholm.
Yeah, so I would say make the most of every opportunity that you can, because you really are here to learn and you will learn so much. So just embrace traineeship life. There are several initiatives that you could get involved with at ECDC internally. There's the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion community that meet once a week. So you can get involved with that. We also have the Young Professionals Network. So that network organizes events for young professionals at ECDC. So whether you want to participate in these events or you can even help to organize these yourself as a trainee. So I'd really encourage everyone to just make the most of everything and grab every opportunity that you can.
I think sort of my advice, I mean, that's really great. And I think in addition to that, something that I've noticed is over time in the traineeship, you start to see sort of the weaknesses and the strengths within yourself that you can reference to in comparison to your team. So for example, you might notice that your skills in a particular area are much worse than your team members, which is a good thing, but you have this strength that maybe you feel like you could contribute to the team and add something, a perspective, a tool, a method. And so I think over time, if you start noticing that, try to act on it as soon as possible and propose to the team, hey, I think this is something that I would like to contribute to further. I would like to maybe introduce like a mini training for my team to explore this new tool or this new, method in order to just in general improve the capabilities of that team. And so I think that's something that you should not forget, because yes, while you are a trainee, you're training, you're learning, you still have a lot of skills that you're bringing to the team that might be interesting, might be unique. That's why they brought you here. So really act on those and they will definitely be welcoming those new insights into the team.
Okay, thanks a lot.
I couldn't agree more with Paula and Dana. I just want to add that, and now a bit outside of work environment, also try to enjoy the life in Stockholm, just like everything that this city can offer you. And that might be just going for a fika or a coffee, travel around, hop on a boat and explore the archipelago, that is amazing, or just get in touch with the Scandinavian culture and go for hiking or kayaking that is so normal to do here. So explore the life here because it's also really good, especially in the summer though.
Thanks, Márcia. And now, since you mentioned all the outdoor activities also, I would like to know what to do after work here in Stockholm, any activities, plans, what do you recommend?
Yeah, so since it's summer at the moment, we've had several barbecues after work. There are several spots around the city where you bring your own coal and your food and you have a barbecue, so that's been super nice. I'd also recommend having picnics in the park. There's a beautiful park right by the office with a big lake, so you can swim, have a picnic. That's also a really good vibe. In the winter, we also do afterworks, maybe go to a bar, pub quiz. Young Professionals Network is always organising fun events around the city. We also went to Pride recently, and we went to a culture night back in April. So the city also has a lot to offer, lots of events on all the time. So I'd really say to make the most of those as well.
Yeah, and something else that's pretty fun is that ECDC has a lot of active people who like to organize sports afterwards. And these are usually quite formal in the sense that they have booked, let's say, like a football field, or they've booked a basketball arena. And you can just go there as a trainee and participate and play and train. It's a very comfortable environment. You have different skill levels. People from different teams that you would have probably never met otherwise, you can meet during these activities. I've personally joined the football team. I've been wanting to try basketball because that's something I did back in school. I've also tried boxing, and we also have things like laser tag, so lots of options. And you can just enter those group chats and meet new people. So I really recommend doing some sports and moving your body after a long day at work.
And now I have there's one last question that I think it's a huge one. I'm sure our listeners are thinking about this question themselves, and as well, you might be thinking, what are the options after the traineeship? So, Márcia, would you like to step in?
Yes. I would say that if you want to stay at ECDC, you can apply for an interim position. There are short-term contracts. The duration might vary over time and depending on the position, of course.
Yeah, another option could also be to stay in the so-called EU bubble, perhaps not ECDC, but perhaps if your role is more cross-cutting function, maybe like comms, or more admin role or legal, for example, then maybe you could go to a different EU agency in a different city. For example, chemicals agency, environment agency, medicines agency in Amsterdam. There's lots of agencies to choose from. Or maybe you could also go to the Commission, European Commission, or even the Parliament. So there's lots of options within the EU bubble that we could explore after our traineeship.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I think just to sort of continue on that with a different option, I think working at ECDC is a really great gateway into public health. It gives you a very strong exposure to the types of problems that different countries are facing in terms of, in our case, infectious diseases, how surveillance works, how you need to tailor everything on a country level, and how you can put that up on like a larger scale at like the European level, at the international level, and how all of that works. So I think, I mean, at least for me, as someone with a non-traditional, non-health background, not strictly health background, it's a really great door, and it will open a lot of opportunities for working in public health and global health along those lines in the future. So I think this is a great place, especially if you want something like that.
Thanks a lot. I believe now our listeners have a clear picture as well. And those were some great tips and honest reflections. So thank you again. And now let's move on to the last segment. Like before we wrap things up, we've got a few questions sent in our social media platforms from our audience, and some rapid fire questions to close the episode. So first, let's jump in on to our questions that our listeners have sent. So first, we have like, can candidates with some more research or work experience also benefit from traineeships? So who would like to answer?
I can answer that.
Go ahead.
So the answer is yes. You can apply, you should apply. I am myself an example of this because I have some work experience before. And it's not only for researchers, and even in among modelers and biostats, you have a mix of people that, okay, some came straight away from academia to ECDC, but we have others also that worked outside of it and then joined ECDC. And you can always contribute it with really good insights and what you have learned before. and you can also learn from that, from public health. And
I'd also add that the traineeship could be good for someone who is new to public health, new to global health space, so maybe has years of experience in a different sector, but is now exploring a new career change. So yeah, if you have more work experience, it could be a good place for you if you're starting out.
I mean, I think if you're interested in working at ECDC, then you should definitely apply. There's a reason you're interested. There's something that you see in the type of work that's done here, in yourself, that you feel is impactful for you. And I think it's definitely worth it. At the end of the day, it's one of the CDCs. So it's a very large institution. It has a big role in global health. So I think you will definitely benefit if you're interested.
All right. Now we have a second question. How can I make my application stand out? So, Dana, would you like?
Sure, I can take this one. So I think applying to ECDC is no different to applying anywhere else. Essentially, you have to highlight your skills in the best way possible. You have to see, what types of topics are currently of interest to the organization, to also see if you match up with that, and also globally, what are the trends? Because as you know, especially in public health, things are rapidly changing with different exposures, different topics become priorities. So take a good look into that. But I think, I can't verify this, but this is what I think. I think that my cover letter was relatively decent because I think I really communicated sort of my passion for the role and the contributions I thought I could bring as a social scientist, as a sort of, you could say, minority in the space, or trying to bridge that multidisciplinary gap in the field. And so I think my tasks sort of reflect this, that this is why I'm here. And so I think, don't overlook the cover letter. Not every job asks for a cover letter. So really put your time into writing something and just make it about what you really want. And I think if you write with that mentality, it will come through on the other side.
I think you should be clear on why you want to be here, and what drives you to apply, and what are your motivation to be here. I think being clear in that, your why, it's an important thing.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I would also just reiterate what Dana said about being really clear about the skills, what skills you bring to the traineeship, because when you apply, you select what section you want to be in, but there's no specific skills that are advertised per section. So actually you don't know what that section is particularly looking for. You can probably make it out yourself. So really think about what you think that section might need from a trainee, and how you meet those skills. So yeah, focus on your skills basically.
All right, thanks. Now there's another question that I believe like all of us four also ask ourselves before coming. Is the monthly salary enough for living in Stockholm? Well, first I would like to add that technically we are not receiving a salary. We are receiving a grant, so that's it's slightly different, in terms of the taxes and everything. So just to make this clear, but yeah, so is it enough to live in Stockholm?
Yes, it's definitely enough, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It depends, of course, how much rent you pay, where you live in the city, for example.
How much you love fika, how many coffees you get,
how much
if you
love
travel
shopping.
a lot or
Yeah.
not.
Yeah,
exactly.
But no, it's definitely enough for the 9 months. Yeah.
Thanks. And now I have 2 more questions that I'm going to answer with the information that HR has provided me, since they are more HR related questions. How many applications are usually received for each position? Well, based on the ECDC data report, over the last 2 years, we received an average of 800 applications. And well, that depends every year and in each position, because every year there are not the same positions open for the traineeship. So that depends a lot. But usually, the scientific openings are more popular than the admin ones. And then the last question is, do you accept EU students that have a degree from a non-EU country? The answer is yes. The requirement is to have a university level diploma of at least 3 years and, of course, a EU citizenship. And then there are other requirements that you should look on the open call for the traineeship. And well, finally, we're going to end with some rapid fun fire questions. So first, I can start with Paula. Please share with us the most inspiring moment during your time here.
So my most inspiring moment was definitely back in April when ECDC signed Memorandum of Understanding with the EU enlargement countries. That was a really, really special day, a very joyous day, and a real reflection of how valuable partnerships are in public health and global health. And yeah, I will treasure that memory for a while.
Okay, thanks. Now, Márcia, please tell us your favorite part of working with other trainees.
I would say collaboration synergies between the trainees, especially in the scientific field, or at least in the scientific field, because some projects overlap. So we might work in the same disease, or some have more experience in some kind of domain, and we can support each other in that way. And an example is Dana and I. We exchange a lot of tips and advices in coding and etc.
Yeah, same. Paula and us also shared like a small project. Yes, we haven't mentioned that before, but yes, we as well collaborate between ourselves and the trainees, so that's really nice as well. And then, Dana, what's the funniest mistake you've made that turned into a learning moment?
First of all, I feel like my question is so not profound compared to the other two. But I think, mistakes happen as a trainee, right? Something funny that I did maybe a couple of times was that I scheduled a meeting for 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. instead of 1 p.m., 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. And yeah, we realized too late because my team member got a notification in the middle of the night that there was a meeting about to start. And so that was a silly mistake. And I always now used, I think it's called the military time, so 13, 14, 15. I'm absolutely traumatized from using 1, 2, and 3. So that's the funny story.
Thank you. And now I'm going to ask the last two questions that I want an answer from all of you, and we can just follow the same order from the beginning. So, if your trainee experience had a theme song, Paula, what would it be?
It would be Thank You for the Music by ABBA, because I'm very thankful and grateful for the experience that I've had and all the people that I've met.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thanks, Paula. Nana?
So for me, it has to be Heal the World by Michael Jackson, because, it sounds, you feel like such a small person, but working at ECDC, you really have the opportunity to make a big impact on people's health. And so this sort of song is my driving force at the traineeship.
For me, I would say Here Comes the Sun from the Beatles, because the joy when the sun is outside here is something real.
All right, thanks. Nice songs. So if you haven't listened to these songs, I encourage you because they are really great songs. And now let's move to the last question. So please, you can as well justify like this question. So one word to describe your training experience.
I would use the word enlightening because I've learned a lot, not only about myself, but also about the global health space, about partnerships and what these partnerships actually look like in real life.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's kind of a synonym of Paula's word. It's introspective. I really feel like I've gone through a huge reflection journey on myself, on what I like to do, on who I am as a person, and ECDC and health and all of these things. It sounds so cliche, but this is genuinely an experience that I've had in the traineeship. And I think as a young professional during the traineeship, that's something you experience. And I'm very grateful for it.
I would say from my side, data detective. I'm a bit biased, but you are always trying to find something and discovering and exploring how these things work and how diseases are evolving. So a detective mode, Sherlock Holmes mode.
Yes.
No, that's
all
fun.
Right. That's a wrap. Huge thanks to our trainees for sharing their experiences. I'm sure our listeners will appreciate it. If you are interested in applying, make sure to check the links in the notes of this episode. If you would like to know more about ECDC in general, please visit 𝗂𝐶DC.𝗿𝗏.eu or follow us on our social media platforms. And as always, if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe and share and leave a comment. We'll be back soon. Until then, take care.